Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com, your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now.
He is Chris Landry. I'm Dave Hooker, and boy, have we got some news for you today and a breakdown of the Vols as it is almost football time in Tennessee. We encourage you to like and subscribe. We'd certainly appreciate that so we can be a part of your day, and Chris Landry can bring the knowledge like no other at Landry Football, or go to LandryFootball.com. Get a subscription, know more about football than you could ever possibly imagine. So he's Chris Landry. I'm Dave Hooker. Tell you more about the mattress place, and the mattress place, no gimmicks, 30 to 70% off every day. And how about integrity? They've got that too. They are A+ accredited, member of the Better Business Bureau, over 225 5-star reviews on Google. That good. They are that good. So it is the mattress place on Chapman Highway, just a couple of miles from Henley Street in downtown. Tell you who we think is that good is Bru McCoy. So I want to get into the top returning UT offensive players, but I can't go that direction without mentioning Bru McCoy, because everybody's so excited about him and the fact that Southern Cal may be dragging its feet a little bit. He's not a returning player, obviously. He transferred. But before we get into the top returning players, Chris, I'm curious just what you make of this whole situation. It seems to be taking a long time.
Yeah, it is. You know, I hadn't mentioned this to you, but over the weekend I spoke with some friends on the coaching staff at USC, and it came up. And of course, the coaches don't really know. This is handled by compliance and whatnot. But, they swear that, look, they got no problem with the kid and he can go, and, they signed off on it. But I don't expect them to say, yeah, we're holding it up. Well, yeah, how about that? I mean, so I don't know what to believe at this point on that. They say and claim that since January they've done their process and whatnot. It's in the NCAA, so it's the old "I confessed he did it" type conversation.
Right.
I don't know what the deal is, to be honest. I have been through situations like this before where it comes down right to the end. It is easy to blame the NCAA because they don't usually talk, they don't. And so it's easy to say that they're holding it up, or, maybe it is USC. Maybe they are okay with it, but is the proper paperwork at the right time? This is where, and I don't want to get off on a tangent because I tend to do that, but this is where having not good leadership or organizational structure. We talk about it in terms of NIL and transfer portal and all that. Those are big issues. But this is another issue that this doesn't happen. And I'm not trying to compare it just because I've spent a large part of my life in the NFL. This is where it wouldn't happen this way in the NFL. You don't allow the Eagles to determine whether, the Giants had this. No, you've got a situation that needs to be handled, and it shouldn't be up to that. There should be there proper procedures that need to take place, but they're instituted by a body. But in fairness to the NCAA, what people don't understand is they say, well, the NCAA should do that. The NCAA can't do anything. They lose everything in litigation if they say you can't do this, you can't do that. They have no power, so we need to create a structure with or without the NCAA. Doesn't matter what we call it, but you need to have a structure that says you get this situation and they all understand that this shouldn't be happening right now. Eligibility of a player should be yay or nay before August 1st. And that should be done and should be. It shouldn't be, well, they're dragging their feet or could be dragging. That is not a non-issue. Should be a non-issue. It's not, and it's frustrating for everybody. It's unfair for everybody. It's unfair for the kid. It's unfair for Tennessee. And if USC has done everything right, it's unfair for them to be, to have to to say, well, wait a minute, he's not ours. We did this. Why are we're busy with our stuff? I don't get that. And, so I don't know what's happening. And that's the problem. We should easily know why, how to fix it. But because, he did it. It's their fault. That's the mess that we're in that leads to stuff like this.
Yeah, and Chris, before we get to those incoming players that are going to be so valuable for Tennessee, and there are quite a few. Yeah, you've stated before clearly you think Bru McCoy is a difference type of maker based off what you have seen. Is that fair to say?
He's a difference-making talent.
Okay.
Now, he's moved around in the maturity level. I've seen a bunch of guys with great talent never amount to anything.
Okay.
So, look, I think this guy has as much or more physical ability as any player on Tennessee's roster at the receiver position. And probably as good as any. He is an elite talent. So, I'm curious to see what he's going to do with it, or if he's going to continue. I mean, there's a reason why he's gone from this place to that place and back to it, and
Right.
Now he's back to Tennessee. So I wouldn't sit there and jump on the table and say, this guy is going to be great. He's a great talent, and he should be great. I expect him to be great. The Vols coaching staff expects him to be great. But so did Texas and USC, and he's no longer there. And quite frankly, and again, it could be sour grapes, neither one of those staffs are sorry he's gone. So what does that mean? Is that, okay, well, he's a little immature, whatever. Well, maybe this is the right fit for him. Maybe the maturity level kicks in. Maybe he realizes, well, I better straighten up. Maybe it clicks in for him. So, yeah, he has got, all of that in a bag of chips, but let's see whether he can produce and whether he's going to be allowed to at the start. And I think he will, but I'm probably just guessing on that.
How much I want to get to Hendon Hooker and the Tennessee returning players on offense that'll have a big impact. Again, this is brought to you by the Mattress Place. Chalk Talk brought to you by the Mattress Place, Marine Corps veteran owned, A+ accredited member of the Better Business Bureau, over 225 5-star reviews on Google. So, Chris, the top incoming offensive players for Tennessee, of course, Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman are the ones that we're going to point to the quickest. And I just wonder how much more upside do you think they have as opposed to what we saw last year?
I think Hendon Hooker has a lot more upside. He's had a complete offseason in the system where he's the guy. I think he can get better. I think this offense is very quarterback friendly. I think it aids the quarterback a lot at the line of scrimmage, and a lot of what they do formationally and the pace allows, for lack of a better term, for him to read the defense's mail and get a feel for what they're doing by the setup, and a lot of built-in stuff. So, like, for example, in this offense, they go such a quick pace and they recognize things from the sideline and in the quarterback. So basically, you may have, let's say you're misaligned. You're a defensive back and you're lined up outside shoulder of the receiver. There's a quick call to run a slant, because if he's playing outside technique, you got a great opportunity for a post or a slant. They can do that. So it makes receivers look open, and it's not just that they're getting open, but that by scheme and by pace, they got a lot of free runs. Well, a lot of free runs for the receiver makes it a lot easier for the quarterback. So I think the combination of he can get better, he can get more comfortable with recognition and seeing things so that it can even work a little quicker. I mean, in terms of decisions, I think he's got a chance to get a lot better.
What about Cedric Tillman? Boy, I stood next to him, and that, when you see 6'4", 6'5", and then sometimes you remember what 6'4", 6'5" is in person. He looked bigger than me in person than he did on tape. And I've been impressed with him on tape. I think he's a pretty good player
because he's so fluid and he's so fast, and his change of direction is so good. You just think he's a smaller guy, because smaller guys do that. And you're right, he's got size. And now this is where, go back to Bru McCoy. This is this is what Bru McCoy hopes he can be, is Cedric Tillman, production wise and handle things. And imagine having two guys with that talent, that you've got two number one receivers. And the number one receiver is what? It's a guy that dictates coverage. You got to adjust your coverage because that guy's in the game. You got to roll coverage his way. You got to give help to him. You got two guys like that. You're really cooking with gas. So Cedric is outstanding. I think the production level can continue to grow and get better. Now, production level doesn't mean how many catches, big plays, opportunities, the play around him, the more balanced offense, an availability of a Bru McCoy may not mean quite as much numbers, but maybe more explosive plays, because again, what great matchups you can get and dictate if you've got multiple guys that are kind of in the same realm of Cedric. I think he's as talented as any receiver in the SEC. I think he's got tons of ability. But again, production-wise, it's aided so much by this offense that he doesn't have to win every route to get open. And that's the thing that's really impressive about this offense.
And Chris, I with that combo, it's going to be great. For Tennessee, I would think, as they continue. And Josh Heupel said this. He's been really open, more than coaches I've covered, about things are going well. Usually, you say they're not going so well, like the Lou Holtz method. Oh, they're just terrible. But so he's been pretty open about the fact that they've been able to connect. He's also been pretty open, whether or not he meant to, about the running back situation. So with Jabari Small, I think as a journalist, here's the way it was supposed to play out, right? Jabari Small comes in, everybody realizes he's too small to play every single down. So this guy, Justin Williams Thomas, that looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger in some of his better movies, is going to show up and be the guy. That's the way it was supposed to work out. It hasn't worked out that way at all. Jabari Small's answered the bell. Kudos to him. And from what I've heard, Justin Williams Thomas is flash, but maybe not ready. What do you hear?
Yeah, look, we talked a little bit a few weeks back about maybe keys to the offense. And we can talk about the guys we've already discussed, but to me, it was Jabari Small. I think he's got real elusive qualities in this offense, where you're going to see a soft box, where you're going to see plenty of running room. I think this guy can be really outstanding, catching the football, running the football out of the backfield, check downs. I think he's a big factor to take this offense to where it is even more difficult to defend. Get the vertical receivers, the running backs, tight ends could make obviously the check downs and the ball control part of this offense that much better. I think Jabari Small is a really productive player with good vision, good understanding. And look, there are a lot of big plays to be made in the running game in this offense because of the fact that you don't have a lot of guys in the tackle box.
Well, that should be an interesting year. He is Chris Landry, again, the mattress place just a couple of miles from downtown. You may be moving your youngster in. I know that we've been doing some of that into college, so that's a great place to call for 30 to 70% off each and every day. How about that? No gimmicks. And, they're Marine Corps owned, and they have the reviews to back it all up. So again, the mattress place on Chapman Highway, they bring you Chalk Talk with Chris Landry. I'm Dave Hooker. This is a production of Off the Hook Sports.